Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Digitas Digital NewFront 2009. And now, please welcome Digitas Worldwide Creative Officer, Mr. Mark Beeching.
Hello, everyone. As you may have just heard, I am Mark Beeching, Chief Creative Officer at Digitas. And I'd like to welcome you all on behalf of Third Act to this, the Digital Content NewFront 2009. This is now our annual get-together, where we look to celebrate and to showcase just some of the wealth of original motion media that's been created every year that, frankly, doesn't really have any interest at all in being TV when it grows up. Although looking at our list of speakers today and looking down here, maybe I should say it wouldn't mind being current TV. But it certainly doesn't want to be a TV spot. Even less is today about old TV simply being repurposed for the web. No, today is all about original digital content created for digital distribution, and about all the exciting new opportunities that this opens up for brands and content creators, you guys out there, to get into bed together. New ways beyond traditional ad spend. New ways beyond what my colleague Brian Turgelson at Connective Tissue calls the pre-roll, mid-roll, sushi roll model of interruption advertising simply shifted online. Now, last year I kicked off the NewFront by telling you about my daughter Tony and how she was pestering me on the sidewalk, actually not far from this venue, to buy her a pirated DVD of Pirates of the Caribbean. I commented on the irony that Hollywood seemed to have this morbid fascination romanticizing the very thing it feared most, piracy. Well, I wanted to kick off this year's NewFront by returning very briefly to this pet topic of mine and some of the efforts of digital rights management to combat it. But I wanted to touch on two other topics too, or two other big and, to me, really, really annoying myths about digital content. And I want to try to explode those myths for us today, because what I want to try to do is clear the air in this room, to clear our collective minds, at least for today, so that we can all hold hands. You don't have to now, but hold hands and think just beautiful, progressive thoughts about the digital space. I want to banish from this room any lurking, unhealthy nostalgia, and I know there's some out there, for the old production and distribution hierarchies. The golden era of the TV networks is over. Today is all about creating a new marketplace for brands and content creators. Today is all about seizing the new opportunities of digital media. So, myth number one, piracy is all bad. Copyright is never copy wrong. Piracy. Well, actually, do you know what? As I think about it, the real issue, do you know what? The real issue is really very, very simple. It's actually not even open for debate. The real issue is not whether piracy is good or bad. The real issue is actually that piracy is simply here to stay. It's a fact of life. It is time for us to stop holding our breath, sapping our creative energy, waiting for some kind of digital rights technology to save the day. It's time to embrace new patterns of distribution. After all, viewers, consumers, they've already adopted new habits, and that's what matters in the end. And I don't see why the recent past of all rights reserved copyright, why 20th century business models should be a very good guide to the immediate future and radical change. No, you go back a bit further. You go back to the 19th century. I guess this side of the stage is going backwards into the 19th century. You go back then it gets a little more interesting. Now, that's when America was the capital of piracy. Back then, to book printing, America was what China is today to all those illegal DVDs my daughter wanted me to buy, and by the way, which I did not buy. It wasn't until the last couple of years of the 19th century that America actually finally recognized European copyright. So for an artist like Charles Dickens, The moment he finished the last installment of a work, and if he published most of his works in installments through subscription, that was his business model, he made sure he got paid. But the moment he finished it, the whole work was pirated off to America and published as a novel. Now, he didn't get a single penny for any of those sales, but it did make him famous. So that when he went to America years later, he made himself a small fortune with a book reading and lecture tour. Piracy had unlocked fame and fortune for him. So piracy is simply a fact of life and something that we have to learn to live and, like Charles Dickens, to work with. So I'm not going to stand up here. I don't want to get into a battle with the copyright cops. I'm not going to stand up here and argue that copyright law has strangled every bit as much creativity as is ever funded and championed. I'm not going to argue that intellectual property rights became the power base of the money-grabbing 20th century middlemen. I am not going there. And I don't think it would be right for me to do so. I think I need to present a very balanced view of the world. And that's why I'd like to concede that the avoidance of copyright law has always been and continues to be a very valuable and fruitful source of creativity and innovation. Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie, fed up of paying copyright to make recordings of those jazz standards, they started to add lots of, this is the extra notes they added in between the main notes of the melody. Bebop was born largely as a way of avoiding paying copyright. Because back then, copyright was the enemy of the recording artist, because recording was the scary new technology challenging the established world order of sheet music sales, theater, and live performance. Okay, enough about the past. Let's get on with reinventing the now. Because there is one model in this world of digital distribution where both the would-be advertiser and the content creator can both thrive. And that model is brand-funded content creation. From sponsorship to deep brand integration to original branded entertainment, whatever we can cook up in the room today. In that world, piracy, sorry, I'm going back to my pet topic, but piracy is simply distribution. But this brings us to the second myth I would like to try to bust, that brands are somehow damaging to the creative integrity of content. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm the first one to say that really ham-fisted product placement destroys a show. That's not just bad content creation, that is bad marketing, especially if no one watches it and no one believes it. And actually, Jake and Amir, who are our comedy duo, who are going to be here a little later on stage to help us guide us through today's proceedings, they made a short film to help promote today's NewFront, parodying some of the perils of product placement. It might be a good moment just to take a look at that short film, if we could roll the film.
Guys, thanks so much for meeting with us. All of us here at Generitech are huge Amir and Jake fans.
It's Jake and Amir.
Sure.
The most important thing for this video is that you guys keep your original voice. This isn't an ad, this is branded content.
Branded content.
Webisode, Movisode, hybrid.
The last thing we want is for Generitech to get in the way of what you want.
Multi-platform, hyper-distribution.
Great. So basically we're thinking, Jake and I at our desks sitting opposite one another.
Jake.
And Generitech mugs in the foreground.
Sure. We can do mugs.
Non-obtrusive, of course.
Integrated, organic.
So you guys are there, sitting at your desks with our mugs, totes, and teas.
Jake. What do you want? Dinner tonight?
Generitech tonight, you mean?
Excuse me?
Generitech tonight, instead of dinner tonight. We really want the brand to drive the story here.
Does that make sense?
Not really, but that's what'll get people talking. Social, viral, community.
Generitech tonight?
In an upper third, CPM, efficiency.
I don't want to eat dinner with you.
Generitech.
I don't want to eat Generitech with you.
Now just add a few non-obtrusive eye blasters. Organic, Beacon.
Alright, this is just silly.
So silly. We love it. Also, we have a 90-second pre-roll for you guys. Embeddable, Dina Kaplan, widget.
Also, is it too early to ask you guys to tweet this video ASAP?
There has got to be a better way to do this.
So as you can see, don't get me wrong, brands can, on occasions, damage content. But it doesn't have to be true. Brand and brand funding is not inherently bad for content. Certainly no more so than the creative controls of the TV networks, you might say. And frankly, that's the creative challenge for us here today, to find the fits and the formats between the different brands and the content creators. Now, I don't want to spend too much time up here arguing with the critics of brand content. What I'd rather do is use the words of one of them, Mark Ravenhill, to destroy his own, frankly, really stupid argument. Mark Ravenhill is apparently a playwright, and he is a culture critic of The Guardian newspaper in the UK. And I want to read to you his review from last year of the indie movie Somers Town, directed by Shane Meadows. And I should just explain to you that in this movie, it comes to a climax when a bunch of young kids travel from London to Paris via Eurostar. That's the commercial train service, Eurostar, that travels through the Channel Tunnel and leaves for St Pancras Station in London. Let me read to you what Mark Ravenhill wrote. You know you've really enjoyed a film when you stay to read every name on the closing credits. And I loved Shane Meadows' Somers Town, so I sat smiling through the credits. I wish I hadn't. A final credit states simply, copyright Eurostar. He then goes on to say, unbelievably, I felt used, I felt cheap, I felt like a business expense. Now, I don't think it needs me or the fact that this film was a tremendous success among audiences, real people throughout Europe, and also achieved great acclaim at the film festivals. It doesn't need me to point out the ridiculousness of this argument and this commentary, given the commentator had previously loved the movie. And you know what? I'd hate to undermine Mr. Ravenhill's commitment and enjoyment of high art and high culture, but I would like to point out to him that I think the Sistine Chapel was actually funded by the Roman Catholic Church, and I hope that doesn't destroy his enjoyment of it. Anyway, let's get to the last myth. Myth number 3. The 3-minute webisode. God, how I hate them. Or rather, how I hate the notion that 3 minutes is some kind of optimum length for video online. The fact that the average video watched online is 3 minutes is an average indicative of absolutely nothing. It is a nonsense average between a dog on a skateboard over here and a full-length movie. Between 8 seconds of mayhem on the back of a ball and 5 glorious days of live streaming international cricket. That's how long it takes. And interestingly, in the Mickey Mouse cut and paste reporting of online video habits, both the dog on a skateboard and the full-length movie both count as one clip, which again starts to obscure some of the real habits and trends going on. Now again, I don't want to seem biased, and I want to present all sides of the argument. So there is one area, and given the nature of a lot of the video online, where this 3 minutes may have some foundation in reality, and indeed in biological fact. A survey some years ago found out that guests in hotel rooms spent an average of just over 3 minutes on the porn channel in their room. But God knows what they were doing with the other 2 minutes. Anyway, getting back to this nonsense average for a moment. The fact that this 3 minutes is indicative of nothing, and the obsession with measuring clips rather than duration, is obscuring the fact that actually people are shifting to watching more and more produced long-format content online. So although the bottom 50% of viewers of video online, they may only watch 6 minutes of video, a measly 6 minutes of video a week, which frankly is enough dogs on skateboards for anyone, probably enough porn for anyone for that matter. No? Someone nodding their head down here. The fact is that the top 20%, and these figures are actually over a year old, so probably all these numbers can be doubled now, the top 20% of viewers of online video are watching a massive 45 minutes a day, because they're watching longer format produced content. Now you add to this not just streaming video, and all these statistics are streaming video, and again, the trade press is dominated with the stats for streaming video, which not surprisingly is the preferred measure of the sushi roll interruption advertisers. If you add to that internet-delivered content, just little things like iTunes and peer-to-peer BitTorrent, you add that to the numbers, and that skews all the statistics even further towards long-format, produced content dominating the bandwidths, or rather, content that's whatever length the content creator wants it to be. Now that's creative integrity. Now it's notoriously difficult to measure peer-to-peer, so maybe that's why we tend to leave it out of our marketing and distribution strategies. When did you last optimize your BitTorrent search strategy? But we got a little indication earlier this year of just how big that traffic might be when the Swedish government brought legal action against the appropriate named Swedish BitTorrent listing site, Pirate Bay, back to my favorite topic. The next day, because users were so fearful of prosecution, total internet traffic in Sweden fell by 1/3. We are here today because there is an awful lot of long format, short format, every format, produced and user-generated dogs on skateboards, full movie, cricket match video being watched online. Okay, enough of my myth-busting, and whether I'm right or wrong about these myths, what I hope I've been able to do is just to prepare us all to think creatively and constructively together about the three main areas that our three panels up here today are going to address. Those areas are this. First of all, how do we get to really big TV-sized audiences for video online? Going beyond worrying about digital rights management, the challenge here is how do we release content online successfully, not police it? The second challenge is how do brands and content creators get into bed together to everyone's satisfaction? The brand, the content creator, and most important of all, the audience, going beyond knee-jerk reactions about creative integrity. We're more creative than that. And then thirdly, what are the forms and the formats of creativity? What are the metrics and the measurements that can underpin and support and report on this exciting new world of original digital content created for digital distribution? And in between these panels, I should say the most important part of the whole day, we're going to have some fantastic reels of some of the hottest talents, latest work in this space. And after that, Jake and Amir are going to guide you through the day's proceedings. You will all get plenty of opportunity in breakout sessions in the various soapbox areas around the venue. You should have a map to them to engage more directly with those content creators.
Please welcome our hosts for today, Jake Hurwitz and Amir Blumenfeld of College Humor.
Am I ready for summer? Yeah, I think so.
What are you doing?
I knew you'd be jealous that I have 48 hot summer fashion tips and you have precisely 0.
I'm impressed that you know all of this, but I wish you wouldn't use the little brain power that you have to memorize girls' magazines.
If there were really girls' magazines, would I know 15 ways to freak him out in bed?
You want to freak guys out in bed.
Yeah, I like scaring people, and now I can do that in bed.
Scaring people like boo?
No, scaring people like licking their toes, okay? Really freaking them out.
I think this is the most you have ever not gotten it, and that's saying a lot. Jesus, what are you doing?
Oh, freaking you out! Sorry for trying!
Well, I'm pretty excited to actually get to say this right now. Give it up again for Al Gore. That was awesome.
Wasn't he brilliant in that film about the sun?
Oh, God, you're ruining this.
All right, everybody, listen up. Over the course of the next 12 months, the average American will consume 8,000 hours of digital content. That doesn't seem like a lot.
It actually does.
It does. However, that is the equivalent of sitting down a 2-year-old at a telly, forcing him or her to watch content until they or them are 19 years old. Okay. So this is a game changer, basically.
I don't want to interrupt you because it seems like you're really in the zone right now.
Sure.
I'm pretty positive your math is wrong, though, and your accent is definitely fake.
Okay, true. Lesson number 1. It doesn't matter what you say, true or false, so long as you're speaking into a headset as I am, with an accent as I am. The digital landscape is changing.
Hey, one sec. Just before you go on, I just want to, name one other person who's speaking into an accent, or into a headset with an accent.
Sure, Al Gore,
Wow.
for one.
Weird choice. We just saw Al Gore.
Right.
Didn't have an accent, wasn't speaking into a headset. So
Didn't have to. Didn't have to.
I think that's what I'm saying.
Okay, what are you trying to do?
Forget it. I'm Jake, and this is Amir, and we work for College Humor, and we have our very own web series called Jake and Amir.
Right, Jake and Amir is a web series about, basically it's about two best friends who chill out a lot. They're really good at video games. They hang out all the time, right?
It's actually more about two coworkers who are forced to work together, even though one of them doesn't like the other for a number of very valid reasons.
Your microphone looks like a little ice cream, and I guarantee I could eat it.
Okay. Today is about bringing together content creators and brands, please don't,
Sure.
and brands, and opening up a dialogue between the two.
Okay, you just lost half the audience. I bet half the audience has no idea what you just said.
I think they probably do. I would bet that half the people on this stage have no idea what I just said.
I will take that bet.
Okay, we're also going to be broadcasting the entire event live online.
Right, so if you're gonna swear, make it count.
Let's just
please.
say no swearing, okay?
Okay,
You
no
got that?
swearing, sure.
Sure.
I mean,
Okay, no exceptions. And we're going to be answering Twitter questions throughout the day, so if you've got one, you can tweet it with a hash NF09.
right. Or you can just text Jake, area code
Don't say my
203-199.
number. Don't say my number, right? Or miming it.